Gang, what's up? Aaron here, Canadian Looney. We're going to bring you an emotional one from the House of Commons with MP Rachel Thomas. Usually in the House of Commons, from my experience, the emotions are frustration and anger. This one is those, but it's also got a lot of sadness and worry in it. Rachel Thomas is a new mother. This cowgirl is an MP from Lethbridge, Alberta, as we said, and she is emotional on this one. I don't know what is going on in our country. I've got an idea. I just can't believe it's actually happening in real time. Let's take a look at Rachel Thomas. She's definitely one to watch and pay attention to. Let's take a look.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
To debate, the honourable member for Lethbridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Conservatives have always stood for the principle of security and the principle of freedom, and we've managed to do so simultaneously. These are the two pillars of a safe and prosperous society. Sadly, though, after a decade of Liberal governance, Canadians are living with less of both, less freedom and less security. The Liberals would like to move past their disastrous record on these topics, but Canadians are still paying the price and therefore very much paying attention and have some significant concerns. So today with Bill C2, the government is claiming yet again to, quote, secure Canada. They've said that this is the intent of the bill. I'd like to explore that a little bit, because there's two problems that I see with this bill. I would say that it neither makes our communities safer, nor does it protect our freedoms. I know. And it actually deepens the failures of this current government from the past decade. Two things. It claims to enhance security, but it actually leaves glaring holes in our justice system untouched, therefore actually leaving a person feeling less secure than ever. And I'll expand on that. The second thing I'd like to discuss is the fact that it infringes on the fundamental freedoms of Canadians in ways that should alarm each and every one of us in this place. With regards to security of person and the justice system, let's be clear. Bill C2 is the Liberals' what I would say a half-hearted attempt to patch over the chaos that many of their policies have actually created. And sadly, Canadians have been paying for those mistakes with their lives, truly, not figuratively. We are told the border is secure, yet the CBSA has lost track of nearly 30,000 people with deportation orders. That's not security, that's negligence. In Falkland, BC, authorities uncovered the largest, most sophisticated drug super lab in Canadian history just in the last couple of years. And in the same province, the RCMP arrested individuals tied to a transnational organized crime group connected to Mexican drug cartels. This is the state of our country. And these aren't isolated incidents. They're the product of years of border mismanagement and reckless drug policy experiments that have been done, especially in the province of British Columbia, which this government not only stamped with approval, but then also funded. And that same failed experiment actually resulted in the death of more people due to drug overdose than what died during World War II. Let that sink in for a moment. More people died because of this government's failed drug experiment than the number of people that died in World War II. That's a big deal. So meanwhile, we also have to look at catch and release policies and what they've done, because they've sown great chaos across the country. My own riding of Lethbridge has one of the highest property and violent crime rates in Canada, and we're certainly not alone. It's something that's being experienced in communities from coast to coast. In Welland, Ontario, just a few weeks ago, a 3-year-old girl was violently sexually assaulted in her own bed. A little girl should be able to go to sleep at night with confidence that she is going to be kept safe, that she is going to wake up in the morning without her sleep being disrupted in any way. And unfortunately, because of our weak policies in this country, that 3-year-old woke up having been forever changed. And she now has to work through the scarring that has taken place, not only to her physical body, but to that little 3-year-old heart. That's because of the failed policies of this place. Folks, more can and should be done in order to make sure that a person is secure. Yes, sure, put more Border Patrol in place. But at the end of the day, there's so much more. There's so much more. In Kelowna, BC, Bailey McCourt, a 32-year-old mother of two, was beaten by her ex with a hammer after he got released on $500 bail. That didn't have to happen. Folks, if our justice system was stronger, if it stood for victims and didn't side with criminals, these things would be prevented. These tragedies expose a massive weakness in our justice system, and it's one that desperately needs to be addressed. And this government has not only the opportunity, but I would dare say the responsibility. There's solutions, and I want to outline two of them. And we have dozens that we can offer, but these are two. One would be bail reform. Cases like Bailey, the mother who was murdered by her ex, he should not have been allowed out on bail. It highlights a massive problem with our bail system and the fact that a criminal can be put in jail and then before the ink of the police report even dries, they're let out. That is what happened here, folks. And this man, a very dangerous offender, known to police, went out and took the life of his ex-wife, leaving two young children without a mom and a family grieving. We've put forward a bill called the Jail Not Bail Act, and it's calling for the repeal of Bill C-75, which forces judges to release offenders. C-75 forces judges to release offenders at the earliest opportunity and under the lightest conditions. That should not be the case in this country. And instead, under the bill that we're proposing, it would require judges to consider an accused's full criminal history, deny bail to repeat major offenders, and toughen risk assessments, which would do a lot of good for victims and innocent Canadians, and certainly would do a lot of good to put criminals where they belong. The other reform that we could bring forward is sentence reform. We have to confront the fact that our sentencing laws in this country are very, very broken. In Canada today, the maximum penalty for a third robbery offense is higher than the penalty for a sexual offense. I'm going to say that again. Right now in this country, the maximum penalty for a third robbery offense is actually more than for a sexual assault offense. So I want us to think about that for a moment. Property in this country, physical property, is actually given more weight, more value than the human dignity of a person. And most often this is women. It's women that are sexually assaulted. It's women that are put in that vulnerable place, that place of having to pull themselves together and heal from what was robbed. Their very dignity, their very being. It's also worth noting that our system allows for violent offenders to actually receive house arrest rather than be put in prison where they belong. How does that protect society? How does that protect those that are just trying to go to work and take their kids to sports and maybe a music lesson and live life in a safe, law-abiding manner? Why are we not standing up for those folks? Colleagues, we need tougher, more consistent sentencing that reflects the gravity of the crime committed. Canadians deserve this. So when we talk about the security of a person, these are the things that must come to the table. And under Bill C-2, none of this is considered. And in fact, in the number of months, in the 6 or 7 months that this government has now been in place under the new Prime Minister, these topics that I'm bringing up today have not even been addressed. They have not even been acknowledged. This summer, it felt like every other hour I was opening up my phone and reading an article with regards to a crime committed against another human being, another life lost, another person assaulted. Folks, it shouldn't be that way. And those in this House have the power, we have the power to make a difference. We have the power to change the laws of this country and to instruct our law enforcement agents and the courts to act differently. We have the ability to contend for victims, to protect those that are innocent, and to truly provide security of persons. So when we talk about C2, there's a whole lot missed there. Now, I said originally that I was going to talk about security of persons, and I was going to talk about the violation of human freedom or liberty that is also exposed in this bill. Out of passion, I have run out of time, but I think I've hit my mark. Ultimately, it's the people that matter most. They're the ones that sent me here. They're the ones that I'm contending for, and I would ask that my colleagues do the same.
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires. The honourable member for Victoria.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my thanks to the honourable member opposite for bringing attention and her passion to this very important and indeed deeply touching issue. I wish to bring to the member's attention, in case she is not yet aware, a petition that's been moved by the loved ones of Bailey McCourt from Kelowna, whom the member referenced. This tragic story, which occurred, of course, in British Columbia, my province, this summer, touched many of us and has rippled out widely across our communities. In that context, it is my great privilege to be the parliamentary sponsor for a petition that Bailey's loved ones have brought forward, calling for a number of revisions to the criminal code to address some of the shortcomings and gaps which may have contributed to her tragic loss of life at the hands of her former partner. Some of those proposed changes include requiring the disclosure of a criminal record to one's partner upon receiving a marriage license, and a variety of other measures that I trust the Attorney General and Justice will take up this session. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Lethbridge.
Thank you, and thank you to the honourable member for taking those steps. I think, advocating for, in this case, your constituents' family, the loved ones that have been left behind, I think that's really admirable. I think it's the right thing to do, so well done. That said, I also believe that that member stands on the side of government and therefore has the ability to urge change. And I hope that he's doing that. I hope with all his might he is urging Cabinet, and especially the Prime Minister, to look at this very seriously and to create changes both around bail and against the way that we do sentencing in this country, because those two things are very much needed in order to protect the innocent and make sure that future situations like what happened to Bailey do not happen again.
Question et commentaire. L'honourable député de Lac-Saint-Jean.
The honourable member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the member from Lethbridge for her impassioned speech. I think it's a topic that really hits home with her, and I congratulate her on her speech. Now, this bill will likely go to committee. In her opinion, will there be a lot of amendments? Will parties have to cooperate very closely in order to make sure this bill passes? Or if the Liberals won't accept any changes when it comes back to the House, if it comes back as it stands, in her opinion, would it be acceptable to vote for this bill as it currently stands? The honourable member for Lethbridge.
I would be curious about the honourable member's purpose of question. Nevertheless, when it comes to this bill, there are significant flaws. I've taken the time to outline some of those here today. But ultimately, it comes down to this. This bill fails to secure people the way that it promises to. It fails to contend for Canadians that deserve protection. Furthermore, this bill is a direct infringement on people's freedoms. So, for example, it will grant permission to Canada Post employees to open mail without a warrant. That's crazy. Furthermore, a peace officer will be able to access a person's data, again, without a warrant. That's crazy. We have warrants in place in order to make sure that people are protected from an overreach of government and authority.
Questions and comments. The honourable member for Kamloops Thompson Nicola, about 30 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's always a pleasure to rise on behalf of people from Kamloops, Thompson, Nicola. And I really thank my honourable colleague, and when she was talking about robbery versus sexual offences, this is actually something I brought up in Bill C-299 last time. And in fact, the member for Winnipeg North was in the chamber when I brought that bill forward, and I got heckled while bringing that bill forward. Now, my honourable colleague is so passionate about this, and I don't have a question. I want to commend her and thank her for standing up for the most vulnerable. Thank you.
The honourable member for Lethbridge has about 20 seconds if she wants to respond.
Well,
The honourable member for London West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I believe that you cannot refer a member's presence in the House or not, so I would caution that the member does not say that again.
Order. We can leave it there. I appreciate the member's intervention. We cannot refer to the absence or presence of a member in the House. We'll leave it there. We don't need to go any further. The honourable member for Lethbridge, let's have a 20-second response.
Sure. Mr. Speaker, I can appreciate the comment made by my colleague. I appreciate the good work that he has done in order to advocate for victims and the protection of Canadians. He certainly has done a lot of good work in this regard. It's my great pleasure to join with him in continuing the good fight to contend for Canadians and their peace of mind and their security of persons.
Resuming debate.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
My name's Aaron. This is Canadian Looney. Like, share, subscribe, get notified. Come and join us for one of our live shows. We've got an amazing chat room. Seeing how these liberals are trying to dupe the naive. Still, it's gross what's happening in our nation by our federal government. It's disgusting. Liars, cheaters, hacks, steal. They're brutal. The worst. Smash the subscribe, hit the like, share this with somebody. We'll catch you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Till next time.
Oh, yeah.